I'm Kit, and this is Caleb.
And we're the Trophy Bros.
Welcome to our podcast.
Listen as we share our crazy,
Off the wall,
and oftentimes ridiculous thoughts.
enjoy the episode.
Welcome back to Trophy Bros. We are here with the special guest, Zane Bell. This episode 3, we're calling it The Call of the Wild. It's going to be one of those episodes to where we talk a little bit about our hunting experiences, maybe some of our hunting stories. But before we get started, I guess more than anything, since we are Call of the Wild, I know one of the books that I grew up reading, I know Zane's a big reader as well. The Call of the Wild is one of my favorite books growing up. And just some of the adventures that the young man in that story kind of went through, and so all the survival skills and one of those things. I love watching those TV shows like the Lone Survivor and those things. Where how do those guys just survive in isolation and those kind of things? They got to learn. They got to know how to hunt. They got to know how to fish. They got to know how to not only do those things but preserve and do those kind of things. And so my question, I guess, for us is, do you prefer hunting or fishing?
Well, me in particular, just like you, I'm fascinated with people who are outdoorsmen and outdoors women who just love to be outside, love to be hunting and stuff. And as far as one or the other, I really thought about this. And at first I was like, I prefer hunting. And then I was like, no, I prefer fishing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's like, I don't think I could do without either one.
Oh, exactly. I feel the same way.
Yeah, it's like, I hunt personally mostly for meat, but it's like I also just enjoy the act of hunting. Like I could go hunting and not kill anything and be perfectly happy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But then like fishing for me is like just low key relaxation.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like I always want to get, if I go fishing, like if I don't get even any kind of nibbles or anything like that, like I'm mad. Like I'm not a patient fisher.
You're not. Huh?
No, but when it comes to like sitting in a deer blind and watching just nature and knowing that if something comes out, it comes out, I'm perfectly content. But when I'm like on a mission to catch a fish, like I at least want something to nibble.
You're all about it, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See,
I love fishing. That's before I got into hunting, like that's what I did, was just fish only. Even all through high school, like I hunted a little bit, but not as much as I fished. Like when in high school, like it was very seldom that we didn't go fishing every weekend. We would go up to Lake Graham and crappie fish like all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a more passive fisherman, I think. Like I fish, like I enjoy fishing for meat, catfishing and fishing for crappie and stuff like that. But like I can just sit on the bank of a stock tank or
absolutely.
a river. And just like me being in that spot in that moment is like, it's perfectly serene for me. Like I don't care.
It's just like sitting in a deer blind. Honestly, if you kind of think about it, I mean, you're just sitting there. I mean, you could be patiently waiting, just like you're patiently waiting for a deer.
Yeah, not me. There's water there. I want to splash it. I want to get in it. I want to go swimming.
You want to skip rocks?
Yeah, I want to throw. I want to throw water. I want to throw rocks. I want to like stomp around in the mud. Like.
Caleb's there for catching, not fishing.
Yeah.
Well, that's that pastoral part in them, just like wanting to baptize everything, Damn!
Yeah, no, I really, I grew up like going to my grandparents' house in Stephenville. They had a stock tank, and I remember going out with cane fishing poles, and me and my grandmother, and they had catfish in it. I mean, and I remember like once a catfish took hold of that cane fishing pole and that bobber went down, it was like a wrestling match to get that out. And I was like 5 or 6 years old, and the catfish probably weighed half as much as I did, and I was just amped up. And I remember my grandmother, because our tank was set up to where the banks were elevated real high, and so I remember like her going down and into the mud and catching it and bringing it back up onto the bank. And like I was scared to death of the whiskers. Like made me think of like what is the guy off of Princess Bride? You killed my father.
Montoya.
Yeah, that's what I always thought about when I saw a catfish. I was like, you killed my father.
Yeah, I think whenever I was in high school, I probably went fishing 200 or 300 times in a stock tank that I knew didn't have any fish in.
So how's it a stock tank?
for like cows.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
But it's just being by the water, just being next to the water, just relaxing, enjoying the evening.
Oh,
like
absolutely, yeah.
And hunting, on the other hand, I couldn't do without that just because it's like I love the thrill of hunting. But then it's like there's also something, you know, just like fishing, there's also something spiritual just about being in the woods.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you go hunting, well, actually, before we go there, do you have like a special or your best fishing story? I mean, you can't talk about fishing and not tell a fishing story.
Oh,
I guess I told mine about going with my grandma, but
No,
you guys have one?
I got a couple good ones. Like the most funniest one though is when Leslie's brother Mark went with us one time. Like he was like, "Yo, I want to go fishing with y'all one time when y'all go to Graham." So he came and he's sitting there fishing. We're in the crappie house and everybody's catching fish left and right, and he's not getting a nibble, right? And so he's like, he gets real mad and he's like, "I'm gonna go up to the truck for a minute and I'll be back." Well, I think it was Cody that was with me. He actually caught like a big old catfish. And so we reeled up Mark's line, put the fish on Mark's line, and dropped it back in the water. So when Mark came back down from his truck, he thought he had a big fish on him. And no one ever told him that we baited his line. That way, like, he just wouldn't feel left out, like he's the only one that didn't catch anything.
Y'all never told him?
Never told him?
Never
this
told him.
is the first time the story's ever been, like, told?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the only people that know were the people that were around the crappie house.
Wow.
And so
I can just assume people did that to me my entire life because I was so impatient. Like, we're just going to go ahead and throw a fish on here.
No,
My
but
grandmother probably did that.
my aunt, she was a huge fisher, like deep sea fishing. Like they lived in Galveston. She holds tons of records for fishing. And so I remember I think it was my 14th birthday. We went down there and visited. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, y'all can go fishing just, you know," because she lived in the Bay Area down there. And so she's like, "Yeah, just fish off the dock." And so as I'm reeling the fish in, the fish jumps off. So I get super mad, of course, you know, and I throw my pole down. And the line's still, 6 foot long or so. Well, it goes down. Well, I start reeling it up. I have a freaking 12-pound flounder.
Oh, wow.
That's just, I hooked him right underneath my aunt's dock. And she's like, "That's probably the biggest flounder that's been caught in this bay in years." And so, yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That is a good story. Man, I really don't have like a spectacular fishing story because fishing for me is not so much about fishing as it is just like relaxation. And so it's like, I remember catching my first big bass as a kid. Like I caught a 5-pound bass out of a cattle tank, just a watering hole. Caught a 5-pound bass. And my dad's got that fish. He got it stuffed for me, and it's still on the wall in my old room. But like it didn't really mean anything to me. It's like I thought it was super cool.
Oh, absolutely. Why wouldn't it be? That's your first one.
And it was like one of my first fish too, so it was cool. But yeah, I don't have any like spectacular fun fishing stories.
Oh, I still got a ton more, but I'm not going to bore y'all with them.
Yeah. Well, my mom and in my family, my mom is the fisher person. Like for their anniversary one year, my dad had a pond dug for her in their new place that they were living. I mean, and so she loves to do that. I remember going fishing with her at a lake that my dad's company owned, and there was alligator gar all in that thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and so I remember we had gotten a boat, we were driving around, and my mom just loved just being on the boat and on the water. And all of a sudden, she stands up. She had seen an alligator gar jump out of the water, and she stands up and is like, "An alligator gar this long!" and we're like freaking out because we don't know exactly what she's saying, but she loves fishing. And I remember going deep sea fishing and hitting swells that were like 12 foot tall, and she's sitting on top like Titanic at the front of the boat. It's like splashing over her and hitting my dad, who's back on the side.
Out?
Yeah, pretty much. And my dad's over there like puking his guts out, like his glasses are falling off. And my mom's just like loving it and just getting it. I'm sitting inside the cabin watching my eggs and hash browns slide across the table. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. But my mom was our fishing guru of ours, and so she's probably very disappointed that I don't like fishing. So, but that kind of brings me to the idea: Are you more of do you hunt and fish for, like, if you're hunting for deer, do you hunt for the horns, or do you hunt for the meat? Do you fish for the trophy that you mount on the wall, or do you fish for the meat? Or I mean, maybe it's neither. Maybe it's just the pure enjoyment of being out in the wild and being there.
I'm personally, like, no doubt about it, I'm a meat hunter. Now, don't get me wrong. It's like if I saw a big old 12-point
Oh yeah, absolutely.
buck, like I'd hammer him for sure and be proud to have him up on my wall. But I don't know if it's a lack of patience or what, but it's like like just sitting waiting on the big deer to come by whenever I see like 6 does out there.
Yeah, it's hard just to sit there.
You know,
and
it's
not-
like,
Yeah.
you know, that back strap's good and I'm out of it.
And,
you know?
I mean,
It's
you
like,
you can get 3 of them here in Palo Alto
I
County.
could,
So
it's like, there was one time I shot 5 does in one hunting session, you know, and it was just like shot a couple, and then an hour or two later, a few more came in, you know,
Yeah.
and it was just like, yeah, that was maybe. Yeah, I'm definitely a meat hunter.
Yeah, I am too. We don't eat it as much as we used to. We would always have a cow slaughtered with my family, and so we would always mix half and half and stuff
Yeah.
like that when we were eating it. And so now we don't have the cow, and so we eat more of it, I guess you could say, in the quantities that we do. But you know, we're so busy that we just don't cook as much
Right.
as I wish we would. We do that back strap. That's the best part of it. If you can get that tenderloin, it's good.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, I remember you going hunting with us, and you shot a doe very first thing, and I think your son may have been with you on that trip too.
Yeah, he
And it
was.
went down into a creek, and like I remember meeting you at that creek, and we found it, and you were thinking, all right, it's freezing cold, and that doe is in the middle of that creek, like, and you start taking off your
completely
jacket.
submerged.
Yeah, and you're like looking to take off all your hunting gear. You're like fixing to get buck naked and go into this creek
I
to,
wanted dry clothes to put on.
to retrieve. And I'm like, well, hold on, let's look at it. Here's like a long stick.
It's like there's a stick here and a rock we can step on.
here's
Maybe
a
don't
rock.
get naked right off the bat.
I was like, is that your go-to move?
Yeah, it's like any chance I get,
Yeah.
clothes are coming.
The call of the wild.
the call of the wild, baby. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, but yeah, I love. I'm a meat. Like I can say that truthfully because I've never shot a trophy buck, so to speak. I've had some that are European mount and things like that, but nothing that I feel worthy of spending like $700 to have
To have a shoulder
perfectionally
mount done.
Oh, yeah.
taxidermy.
Yeah.
And then you see some of the janky taxidermy.
Yeah, it's like, what do you got to be careful what you're getting.
Yeah,
That's
so,
something to choose wisely as a
yeah.
taxidermist. for
Shop
sure.
that around a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I want to see your portfolio, please.
We don't want no marbles in the eyes, you know.
buck teeth coming out.
Yeah.
It's a buck. It has to have buck teeth.
Yeah.
What about you, Kit?
No, for sure. It's all about the meat for us. You know, we ground up a lot of it. We keep the backstrap, and then we kind of ground up the rest, and so we'll use it in everything. And so yeah, just meat. And I love to fish, so yeah, we keep the meat for the fish, and we have a big fish fry. So yeah, just the meat for us. But
Yeah, it's like even whenever I do fish, and it's like I like to fish for catfish and or crappie, which are my preferred freshwater fish to eat.
oh, absolutely.
And it's like, it's like if I'm going to be fishing for them, like I do want to boatload them. That way, it's like in one session I can clean,
Oh yeah.
30 pounds of
Well, that's
fish
like
or something
the
like
night
that,
of our wedding. Like the night before our wedding, we went to Lake Graham, and we caught over 100 crappie.
Did you really?
And so the next morning, like we started filleting like at 4 o'clock because we just stayed up all night just fishing because they wouldn't stop biting. And so 4 o'clock, we're like, all right, we got to start filleting. And I was still late getting to the reception area to start setting up because we were filleting over 100 fish. And I mean,
that
it
takes
was
a while.
insane. That's
Better
the
hope
best.
you have a good sharp knife.
Yeah, well,
That's right.
we just had the electric knife, just getting them out. So I guess as we're talking, you said catfish and crappie, and that's mine too as well. So, but when you're hunting, what game do you prefer to hunt?
So, I really enjoy hunting deer for meat. I don't have the patience to just, as much as I have patience to just sit on the shore and fish for nothing, like sitting in a deer stand and waiting for a deer to come out just wears me out. Like I don't know what it is about it. I like more interactive hunting. Like one of my favorite things to hunt is varmints, which is not for meat, but that's purely for, well, technically it is because it's like I'm cleaning up coyote populations, which in turn help deer populations.
Oh yeah.
But the interactiveness of being able to call something in is what I really enjoy. I love calling varmints, and then anything behind a dog. My brother and I grew up. My brother especially, he's way more of a hunter than I am. He's way more of an outdoorsman. We grew up having hunting dogs, and we had hog dogs, and we.
Oh
had
yeah, I
bird
remember those hog dogs.
Yeah, and
I remember one of them got tore up so bad. Quattro was like, "All right, let's bring them in the house. I'll stitch them up real quick."
I mean, the vet. We took enough dogs to the vet, and of course, technology advanced, and we bought protective Kevlar vests for our dogs and stuff like that, and so that really kind of went away. Or a lot of that went away, not completely. But Quattro was very efficient in stitching and stapling a dog with like some fishing string.
Yeah, I mean, it was wild.
He could fix up a dog pretty quick.
Tab of a Coke can.
Well, it's like the vet was like, "How are y'all going to pay for this?" And it was like,
We'll worry
Can
about
you
that
bill
later.
us?
Yeah, we'll pay a little bit at a time.
And anyway, she was like, "Why don't I teach y'all how to do this?" And she did, and thanks to her, it's like she saved us a ton of money, and I'm sure our dogs appreciated it too. We get them fixed up right there in the field real quick, get them cleaned up.
Well, you just went on a varmint hunt last weekend.
Yeah, we do. Me and a few friends, we do some competitive varmint huntings. We didn't have any luck this weekend. Of course, it was rough weather for it. I mean, it was raining
nasty
all day
rain
Saturday.
too.
And
It was just that mist rain
yeah,
too.
it's just constant mist and drizzle. It wasn't pouring down, but it just made it just
miserable.
a drag. And
Yeah.
the animals were just down. They weren't up moving around. The deer were. I was shocked at how many deer we saw while we were calling. But the varmints, the coyotes, and the bobcats and foxes, they were not getting it. They were just, nope, we're not going to eat today. Thanks.
Not today.
But that's fun. I love that stuff. It really is. That brings me a lot of joy just getting to do that.
So, do you remember your first hog that you've taken?
I don't. Yeah, actually, I do remember my first hog, and it was down in South Texas, where I'm originally from. I'm from Cotulla originally, and we had a ranch down there. The family had a ranch rather, and we trapped some hogs. And I'll never forget. There was a hog that was in the pen, and he was a pretty good sized pig. And my dad was like, "Here, why don't you shoot this one and kill it?" And I was like, "All right," I was game for it. And I had a little 22 chipmunk, which is very similar to like a 22 cricket that you can get now. I don't think they make the chipmunks anymore.
I don't think they do either.
And I still got it. It's a cool little gun. But anyway, I had a 22 chipmunk. That was like, just shoot him right between the eyes. And so I was a good shot. I aimed and shot that hog in between the eyes, but that 22 would just, instead of penetrating the skull, it would just slide up the forehead of that hog and just ricochet off of it. And I was like, two of those, and Dad was like, "All right, maybe let me shoot the
Give me the
hog."
gun. Give me the gun. I'm gonna show you how it's done.
No, it was just a 22. It was like, he's like, "All right, I'll handle that. We're not going to torture the animal here."
So, have you ever done? I've had a couple buddies of mine that go hog hunting, but they don't take a gun. They just take a knife and they.
Oh yeah, whenever we hunt with dogs, we never carried a gun. It was always knives. My brother was. Semi-famous, locally he had a 12-inch long World War II bayonet that he carried in his belt. And that's what we used to dispatch the hogs after our dogs caught them, was that bayonet. You don't want to be shooting around a bunch of dogs whenever they're in a frenzy, because it's like you don't want to kill one of your dogs on accident, know. And so, and a lot of people find that hard to believe. It's like you're going to go catch a wild hog with nothing but a knife. And it's like, well, we got like 10 dogs. Like, well, and we'll have them by the hind leg before we get a hold of them. It's pretty safe.
So can you? I can only imagine the first time that you did that, though. Was that pretty sketchy?
Oh, well, it was a little sketchy, but the adrenaline rush that you got from it, because it's like your dogs are wound up barking and getting
going
into
nuts.
It. They're going nuts. You catch dogs caught, and then you got to go in there and get a hold of the pig. You can't just walk in there and just stab the hog. Like, there's too much commotion. You got to make it be still. So it's like you got to go in and you got to grab it by the hind leg, or you got to have a dog trained to grab it by the hind leg and kind of stretch it out. We didn't have that. So we went in there and just grabbed the hog. One of us would grab the hog by the rear legs, pick its rear legs up off the ground, and then the other one would dispatch it, stab it in the heart with that bayonet.
That's crazy.
But the adrenaline rush that you get, because the dogs are in such a frenzy and the pig is in such a frenzy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That, like, my heart rate's getting up just talking about it right now.
Yeah. So I've known you for 9 years, and so I've known you only with a beard. So when you tell these stories about you being a little kid or like that, like I still picture you like as a 12-year-old boy having this big, long, massive beard with a bayonet in your mouth. mouth going across. Like, I'm going in after this pig.
Not that,
Oh, Rambo style.
not quite that wild, but close. No, it was a little skinny guy with big feet tripping over everything. is what it was.
Well, can you, like, so I know Hudson, your son,
Yeah.
he just harvested his first deer.
Man, and that was so cool.
Yeah, tell me about that.
You know, that was I took him on that hunt with you a few years ago. I took him, and he was really probably too young, but he told me that he wanted to shoot a deer. And so down there, I gave him an opportunity to do it, and the buck fever just got to him too bad. I mean, he was just rattling around in that
Oh,
deer
yeah.
blind, and I was like, all right. After about
Calm down.
After about 10 minutes of that, I was like, all right, maybe we need to take a breather. Let's just put the gun down. And he's a really good shot. But anyway, he finally had got his first deer a few weeks ago. It was the day before the last day of the youth season this spring. And we had a little basket horned 8 that was probably 2 years old, but just legal.
We're going to say it was legal at least on.
For sure.
At
It was
least, yeah.
definitely legal. And anyway, we saw him coming in, and I was like, hey, here's your deer, dude. This is it. You get a shot whenever he comes over the fence and gets on our property and everything. We could see him from a ways off. So anyway, to make a semi-long story, because this was like a 25-minute ordeal. Like, for 25 minutes, he tried, I should say, to get a shot on this deer. But between, various fence posts and, the legs on a feeder and tall broom weeds that were in the pasture and everything else, like, we could not get a clear shot at this deer. And so I was like, just be patient. He's not going anywhere. He was out there with another little 4-point yearling buck,
Just dancing around.
Yeah, just moving around. I was like, he's going to be fine. Just take your time. And anyway, of course, his adrenaline has gone up and down like 4 or 5 times, because I was like,
Now he's starting to crash a little.
and it's like, and he's down on the gun, up off the gun, down on the gun, up off the gun. And he's trying to figure out, these 2 deer are milling around in these tall broom weeds, head down, head up, The sun's kind of going down. It's shining right into our optics, which makes it rough to see.
Yeah.
And I was like, just be patient. And I was telling him, all right, the one you're going to shoot's the one on the left. All right, now the one you're going to shoot's the one on the right, because they were milling around, And anyway, so 25 minutes into this deal, all of a sudden, out of the tree line on the opposite side of where these 2 bucks came in, this big old, probably 4 or 5 year old spike comes out. And he's got a 4 on one side, and he's got a long spike on the other that's about 13 inches long, which was super cool. But from where we were and the way that horn looked, I couldn't tell if he was a true spike or if he just broke off
Yeah.
one antler. And it's like, he was a nice deer, so I didn't want to kill him if
There was potential for
there
him
was
to,
potential for him next
Yeah.
year,
well, even to breed and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And so anyway, I was like, I thought about it for a few minutes, and I was like, no. I was like, if that's a spike, we need to get it out of the population.
Yeah.
And so I was like, shoot that deer. And he was like, you sure? And I was like, yep, shoot the big one. He was old. He was in his prime. It was a good time to take him. Anyway, so same kind of deal. He jumps in, gets behind some weeds, can't get a shot at him, whatnot. He runs the 2 little deer off. So the little 8 that we were hunting,
Gone.
he's gone. So it's like, we got the spike. And anyway, this guy, he jumps out of the feeder after a few minutes, and he's walking back to the tree line, which is only about 10 or 15 yards top, so it's close. And I was like, Hudson, if he stops, you got to shoot him. I was like, just be ready. If he stops, shoot him. And I'd been preaching to him for years. Shoot him right behind the shoulder, right behind the shoulder, right behind the shoulder. Double lung him, maybe pierce a heart. We'll
Drop him. Yeah.
We'll either drop him or we'll have to track him 20, 30 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Sure enough, that deer stops more than quartered to us. And I was like, Hudson,
Now's your time.
Shoot him right in front of the shoulder. And he was like,
Since everything he's ever been taught.
it goes against everything I've told him. And he was like, you said behind the shoulder. I said, right in front of the shoulder. And he didn't hesitate. He pulled the trigger and made a perfect shot. Shot that deer right in the heart. Dropped him right there.
So,
And I was so wound up about it. Like, I don't even know I almost don't know who was more excited, me
Oh,
or
yeah.
him. You know,
No,
I mean,
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
It was a fabulous night.
Oh, man.
It's a night I'll never forget.
Oh man, that's incredible. I mean, and just the fact patience is the hardest thing to teach a young hunter. I mean, it's hard even as a grown hunter, a veteran hunter, to have patience.
Yeah.
Um,
Just to sit there and be,
oh man,
especially
so-
when all those other ones are just kind of out there dancing in front of you like that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we've never, like our place that we hunt, I've never had to go any amount of time without seeing deer. So it's like it's selective. Like you pick which one. Be patient. You never know what's right on the other side of that tree line
Yeah.
that could be coming out at any moment. But yeah, okay, what about you? Your son has recently shot his first? No, he shot one within the last 1 or 2 years, though, right?
yeah, he
His-
got both of them down there at your property
Okay.
down there. And so his first one was super cool, don't get me wrong. But the second one was, I think, to me, it kind of gives that, like, yeah, that's my boy kind of feeling, you know what I mean? Because, like I said, me and Cal, we waited. I mean, we were being kind of particular on what, like, we want the biggest doe that we can find, you know? And so Callan's waiting, and we hunted stand 3, like, 2 days in a row, or, 2 times, 2 hunt sessions, and we kind of saw some stuff and didn't see some things, and so we're like, oh, let's try stand 1. And we're kind of, Caleb's getting all these deer at stand 2 because we can see them, like, but nothing's coming our way, so we're like, oh. Well, finally, Caleb texts and said, hey, they're coming your way, and so what we thought was the biggest one was leading, like, this trail of 5. And so we kept looking. I was like, well, let's just wait and make sure that's the biggest one. Well, finally, the number 5 kind of walks in, and I don't know, something spooked them. Do you remember, Caleb? Something spooked them. They started
They
running.
were just real skittish.
Yeah.
It was the end of this winding down. Rut was over completely.
Yeah.
So every little thing.
But something
spooked 'em.
kind of spooked them, and so they started, like, trotting pretty quick, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, Callan, if you're going to do it, you got to do it now. And Callan's like, all right. And so he lines it up and shoots the deer on the move, like the deer's
Oh, wow.
going.
Wow.
And, I mean, it wasn't a terrible shot. I mean, it kind of was a little bit further back than what we would like. But, I mean, I was still like, you just shot a moving deer, son. Like,
That's
here we go. We got, like, John Wayne up here, you know. So,
At least he wasn't shooting from the hip.
yeah. But, no, it was still, I mean, I was still super proud because I was like, man, there's not, I mean, that's talent for your age. I mean, he's only 7 or 9 or something
That's
like
awesome.
Composure.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember I shot my first deer. I'd been hunting in a stand, and I think I may have even shot and missed a deer from my stand. But I remember walking through an area of our property we call the Spanish Oaks, and I remember walking through, and we had several deer that just jumped up and took off running. And I remember standing up in the Spanish Oaks and having to shoot a deer that was moving, and it was pure luck.
Yeah. That's what
It
I
was
told Kyle.
pure
I was
luck.
like, that's, this is like, you're lucky.
Yeah, there's no way I should have been able to do it, but I remember dropping that sucker. But I also remember my son's the very first time I remember buck fever like crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was so funny to watch because he'd be, his head bobbing up and down, falling asleep in the stand, and then I'd nudge him and say, hey, there's a deer out. And so he would watch that, and then probably like 5 or 6 would come out, and then a buck would come out, and he's like, all right, can I shoot that one? And before I could even answer him, he had the gun up in the window, fixing to squeeze the
ready.
trigger. Like, yeah, let's just wait though. Let's make sure. Like he's like over there trying to jerk on the trigger. It's like, well, safety's on. Like I don't know why I'm being the dumb parent and letting you just have a gun all free range in a deer stand. But
Maybe
like,
let me hold on to that.
Well, I don't know about like y'all's boys, but like, so I've taken both of them down there to Mustang Ranch, and they've shot, a couple does down there, and it's like every time they shoot one, they're like, boom, they're like trying to get out the deer stand to go get it. I'm like, hold up, son, let's,
Give it a little
we
bit.
got to give it a little
Yeah.
time.
Give it 15 or 20
But
minutes.
they're like,
Let's make
they're
sure she's
they're
dead.
busting a
Yeah.
gut to get down there, and so it's pretty funny.
yeah, I can't tell you how many deer I've harvested just because I've been so blessed to have a place like that to go. And
Yeah.
there'd be seasons where I was taking like 3 or 4 deer, and my dad was probably just shaking his head like, where are we going to put all these deer? These deer. And the more I've grown up, and the more I've been selective. And so my son just finished his hunter safety, and so now he's hunting by himself. And so like he's texting me this past season like, can I shoot this? And he's trying to send me this picture of a deer that's all like pixelated and grainy.
Through his optics.
Yeah,
He's
through
like,
his
"Oh, here,
optics. Yeah. I'm like, can I shoot? What about this deer? Do you think it's worth shooting? I'm like, here's the deal. Like, is he legal? Yes. But is he better than any deer that you've ever taken before?
Right.
And the answer is no. And I said, and he knows
And
that.
is he young, and does he need to be harvested, or just
Yeah.
it's like,
And so he's learning those things. But we are in the habit of taking at least a doe or two each season. We'll keep one for ourselves, and then we give away the other deer meat. There's different people in our church or in our community that need that kind of protein and stuff like that. And so we try to make sure that we do that kind of stuff. And that's just our way of taking something that we enjoy to do and then being able to use it to bless somebody else in that aspect.
yeah, that's super cool.
So we've
It's
enjoyed
always
it.
good to doe populate, or manage the doe population
Oh,
for
dude,
sure.
yeah. We got to do that real. we need to go down and do it more often.
Yeah.
You're so blessed. Like we're lucky to see any deer at all whenever we go hunting on my dad's property, just because of, it's a cow and a horse ranch, and there's not a lot of cover, and then the neighbors' places don't have a lot of cover, so it's just not ideal for deer. And so it's like when we see a deer, boy, it's like,
You better shoot
get
it.
it while
Jump on
get
it.
it while you got it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, kind of like what Kit was saying though. I remember taking Curry turkey hunting, spring turkey hunting for the first time, and we're sitting underneath a tree, and we've been calling turkey all morning. I think it may have been a chance one of those times that you came with us, Kit. But we're on the ground sitting down, and Curry's kind of bobbing up and down, falling asleep, and I'm still clucking away on my slate call, and I have my diaphragm that I'm calling to every now and then. And all of a sudden, around the corner, come about 25 turkey.
Oh wow!
And Curry, I look over to Curry, and his head's just like chin to his chest. He's asleep. It's like I'm nudging. I'm putting my hand on his leg real gently. I'm like,
Whatever, squeezing the crap out of his.
Yeah.
Don't
It's like, 'cause
move.
you can't move.
Yeah.
It's
and
like,
I'm like,
they see everything.
Oh, I know.
dude, there are turkey in front of us, very, 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 very slowly.
I love turkey hunting.
Oh,
I mean, that's to get them to come to that close to you
yeah.
is talk about adrenaline. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though they're not going to kill you or hurt you, super bad.
They could
But
put a
it's-
hurt on you though.
Yeah, but it's just the fact
You
that.
wouldn't want one on you, I guarantee you.
But it's just the fact that you got to let them get so close, and it's
Oh,
like, oh yeah, I
I'd
love
actually like to see a tom get after you. Just
I would punch it right in its throat, right in its throat.
Yeah, but for us, that we had all those turkey get within 20 yards, maybe even closer than that. It was closer than that. It was probably 10 yards actually. But they got so close, and Curry slowly moved. I'm like, ever so slowly move, like he was like slow motion, and then he bring it up, and as soon as he shot a turkey, like he like shot up like super quick. I'm like, I yank him and I pull him back down, and then I'm trying to pull my gun up, trying to shoot at least one. Like there's more than one turkey here. Like let's
Yeah.
coordinate this,
Yeah.
and like, but nope, he was like chasing after him. Like, dude, just sit down. And so it was
too exciting.
Oh,
Dad.
man, it
it's
is.
too exciting.
it's so fun to watch them as they kind of learn, and as they, it's learning the excitement, but it's also respecting and honoring,
Yeah.
that the wildlife that the
Yeah.
Lord's really blessed
Well, that's
us
like
with.
Cal. Like Cal asked for Christmas was a deer blind, and so that's
I
what he
need a
got.
deer blind.
That's what he got. Was a
he?
deer blind.
Nice, dude.
It's just a little 2-person pop-up deer blind, and I was like,
Do you see much game out at your little place?
when we manage it and like put corn and
Yeah.
do all that stuff, we see quite a bit.
Man, that's cool.
But
That's
it's
fun.
like if we don't,
it's like you got the habitat for it. Right
oh
there.
yeah. But it's now that we're finally getting settled in, we're really going to try to start managing it a
Yeah.
whole lot better this year. But now, it just took a while to get settled in
Yeah, for sure.
and getting everything that we wanted done. So
All right, so here's my favorite question that I've been wanting to ask: what is your craziest, wildest hunting story that you've ever experienced? Or maybe it's not even you. Maybe it's something that like your brother or your dad experienced out your place.
So I've got a story. It's really my dad's story, but I'm involved in it, and my brother is too. And we were small kids. My brother may have been 8 or 10, and I was probably 6, 7, or 8, something like that. Not young,
Yeah.
plenty young. Anyway, Dad wanted to go deer hunting. This is when the family still had the place down in Cotulla, and so he was like, all right. All we had back then were little tripod blinds, where you just sitting in a
Yeah.
chair up in the sky, and anyway, Dad was like, I'm gonna go hunting this tripod. Y'all be able to see me. I'm gonna park the Suburban. This was in like 1992 or 3, and it's like, I'm going to park the Suburban down this Sendera, which is just a dirt road going through the ranch. And he was like, y'all can hunt this Sendera. I'll sprinkle some corn out here, and if y'all see a doe or a little buck or something,
Take it.
take it. And I swear I think I saw a mountain lion that day, but in hindsight, as an adult, I'm like, that was just me being a kid. But anyway, we talked ourselves into the fact that we'd seen a mountain lion. And all I saw was its tail, and I was like, yeah, for sure that was a mountain lion. So anyway, we got terrified, and we're in a Suburban, we're in a vehicle.
Yeah.
The
Pretty
back,
safe.
the
No
back,
tanks.
the back window's down. It had the old key where you roll the window down, but we were in a really safe place. But we were terrified, and we were 100 yards from where my dad was, and we could see him. And so anyway, because we get ourselves worked up, we're like, all right, we got to get closer to Dad. So we crawl out of the Suburban. And of course, my dad, he's up in the sky. He can see us, and he's watching us. And he's trying to deer hunt, seriously hunt deer, And we're just bam, bam, banging around in the Suburban.
Slamming the door shut.
Slamming the door, pulling our guns out, hitting the stocks on the side of that metal Suburban, And he's just, in his mind, and I know this story because he's told it so many times, It's like, in his mind, he's just thinking, these idiots, It's I have no idea what this takes, And so anyway, we go up there and we get to the bottom of the tripod, and we're like, Dad. He's like, what? We're scared. And he said, of what? We think we saw a mountain lion. You didn't see a dang mountain lion, It's like, well, we're pretty sure we did. Anyway,
You don't know. You weren't there.
yeah, exactly. That's what my thought was. And he was like, y'all need to go back to the Suburban. And we're like, no, we're scared. We're not going back. We're staying here by Dad, where we're safe. So there was a little blackbrush thicket, I don't know, about 20 yards from where he was. And he was like, all right, y'all go sit down in that little blackbrush thicket and just be still and be quiet. He's still trying to hunt. And it was, early enough in the evening that, he might be able to salvage this deal, maybe. He's like, y'all sit down over there, be still, be quiet, don't make any noise. And of course, 2 little boys. It's like, there's nothing quiet about what we're doing. We're rustling around in the grass and the brush and, throwing dirt at each other. And
See who can throw the rock the farthest.
yeah, exactly. And my dad's up in the stand, and he's like, shh. And we're like, what? What are we doing? Anyway, he's like, be quiet. Okay. Yes,
Be
sir.
like that
Yes,
kid
sir.
in church.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, from Dad's point of view, Dad can see this group of hogs milling around, 100 yards out. But the brush down there in South Texas is really thick,
Yeah.
And so he'll see these hogs, and then they disappear in the underbrush, and then
Yeah.
he loses sight of them and whatnot. And we're sitting down there in that black brush thicket, and he's kind of keeping an eye on the hogs, and they're kind of moving towards us, but he's not real concerned about it. He figures that they're going to move off. But he loses sight of them. And anyway, all of a sudden, Quattro and I are sitting in that blackbrush thicket, my brother and I, and all of a sudden I hear, and I turn around and there's a big old sow. Her eyeball and my eyeball are just right here. I jump up, scream bloody murder. I take off, run smack into a tree, fall backwards. Little baby pigs are jumping over the top of me. My brother's abandoned me, a good older brother. He just left. He's like, he sacrificed me for the cause, He's like, one of us has got to survive this deal, and it ain't going to be you. And anyway, we scream. My dad, whenever it's all said and done, my dad is up in the deer blind, just heaving, laughing. Can't breathe. And it's like, we almost died, and the old man
Scene from Old Yeller.
yeah, exactly. And the old man's just having the time of his life, and it's just like, anyway, that's one of the craziest stories I've ever been a part of. Because I swear I thought I was dying that day. First a mountain lion, and then the hogs got after me. And that's probably why I like hunting hogs so much.
Get your revenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I still picture you telling that story. You having a crazy beard, even as a 9 and 10-year-old.
6-year-old boy.
If I'd had this beard, that she'd have never approached me like she did.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up and we've hunted the place that we hunt, Mustang Ranch, is our family land. It was my grandmother's land where she grew up, and so it's been in our family for a long time. And my dad has a ton of hunting stories like that. Like, I mean, they're almost like folklore. Like the more you tell it, the more it kind of grows. And like, I really don't know how true this is because I wasn't there. But like, he tells stories like shooting a 3-legged deer, and we had like this, and that's probably not uncommon, getting taken by, like getting caught in a fence or a coyote or something like that, taking it. But we had like this tree. It was the tree that we hung all of our deer in growing up. And he tells a story about how he shot this 3-legged deer and came back, hung the deer up, and then taped a stick to its leg. Just a like pirate deer, stuff like that. Peg leg deer, and stuff like that. He does tell a story though that he was going hunting with him and a buddy of his, and he got out there before his hunting buddy did, or his hunting buddy had to leave early. I forget. For some reason, he was by himself, and he was sick as a dog. Like, he had been throwing up, but he was like, I'm going to go hunting. And so he had been feeling a little bit better, so he goes out to one of our places. And we have an area of bottoms and a bluff that looks down into them. And he tells a story like he was going hunting, and he gets out to that place. It's a pretty good hike at top of the bluff, and he starts making his way down, and then he starts to feel sick again. And like, it wasn't just like, oh, I really don't feel that good, but I'm just going to tell you. Like, he was about to throw up, and he just had to sit down. So he sat in kind of in a ledge of the bluff of the cliffside, and he was just pale, sweating, and just didn't feel well. All of a sudden, a nice deer walks out. And so he has this rock that he's been leaning up against and his gun's up against, and he just kind of props his gun up, almost like he's out of firing range. And he puts that deer in his scope, right? He's a neck shooter, so right in the neck, he shoots, and he sees dirt kick up. He's he thought, man, I missed that deer. It's like, my scope must be off. And so he's like, I'm going to try it again. And so he puts it right in the same spot, shoots again, dirt kicks up again in the same spot. It's like, surely it can't be off. Third time does the same thing, and eventually the deer just falls over. And what was happening is that he had shot that deer through the neck, and it was going through, hitting a rock and ricocheting and kicking up dirt.
You gotta be kidding.
Yeah. So by the time, and like, he feels horrible, and so for some reason, I'm trying to remember all the details. He couldn't get the deer back up. Like, he picked it up by the head, and then like pulled it over his shoulder, and then like tucked the snout like underneath his arm, like in his armpit, and the deer's body was still on the floor, on the ground, because the neck had stretched out so far. That, I mean, he tells the story like we get back to the tree at deer camp, and we're hanging it, and it's up in the tree, but yet the body's still touching the ground because the neck is stretched out so far. Dude. It's like our giraffe deer.
Giraffe deer. It's a good name.
Yeah. Well, mine, I guess one of the crazy things is that, so before we moved out to our property, we kind of hunted here and there on it, you know. And so I took my father-in-law out there, my brother came, and all this, and so they were kind of hunting where my house is now. They were kind of hunting down there in that area, and for some reason, I don't know what my brother was thinking, but like, he didn't pee like before he went. So he just like stops and just, you know, finds a tree, and Alan can see him from where, because Alan climbed up on this big old rock, and we just used the rock as one of the stands, and like, I'm talking maybe 10 yards away from Clay, here comes two doe just out, and like I said, like, that's when we were kind of semi-managing, you know, like we threw corn out the week before and stuff like that, and so Alan's like, I'm gonna shoot it. so Clay's peeing, right? He's still peeing, and all of a sudden
Clay's got a good prostate.
And so Alan shoots, you know, and Clay's like freaking out and just like jumping around. And
did he pinch it off whenever that happened?
Oh yeah, he zipped it up real quick. But anyways, Alan missed because Alan was kind of nervous that, you know, like Clay's standing right there, you know, and so Alan missed, but so Alan was kind of mad, and Clay was like, I don't know what's going on, you know. So Alan kind of just turns
Clay's got himself in one hand looking around like, what in the world's going on?
And so Alan kind of just, he just barely turns to the right, and then here's a big 10-point buck.
Oh,
Now I'm just like, oh. And mind you, I'm still walking to the other end to get in my stand, and here I am 3 shots in. I'm hearing 3 shots. I'm like, well, my day's over, you know.
there go the deer.
And I'm not even in my stand yet. And so I was like, what's going on? And Alan's like, well, I got a big 10-point after I missed 2 doe because of Clay's peeing. And so, yeah.
I like how he blamed it on Clay. Like he had anything to do with the aiming.
Yeah.
Should have been glad he missed those 2 does.
Yeah.
10-point buck came out. It's a way better deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, we have so many stories like that as well. But yeah, and that's a big no peeing out there.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the wilderness.
That's what I was saying. I was like, what are you thinking? He's like, oh, I forgot to go with the truck.
Yeah, so I talked to my brother this past week, and I asked him, I said, well, out of all the stories that we have, like, what is your favorite one? And so he said there was that one time that we were getting out of the deer stand, and I turned, and there was a doe coming across the field. I hadn't seen anything, so I just threw it up on my shoulder, standing up, and shot it, and he grazed it right underneath the brisket, right underneath the chest, and it went down the belly side, and he thought he had missed it, but we went over there and we checked for blood, and it had gone down into halfway down the bluff to the bottom, and it's just laying there. I'm like, what's going on? And so we look at it, and we start to realize that he had hit it just enough to where the guts, like the intestines, had fallen out. And so it was still alive. And so I'm like, bro, you're my older brother.
You got to go up there and cut his throat.
Yeah. Like he was, like, we need to do the humane thing.
Misery, though, yeah.
Yeah, we need to do the humane thing. And so my brother's like, okay. So, like I said, I'll help you. Because, I mean, my brother's probably in his 20s, and I'm a teenager. He may have been older. He may have been in his 30s, and me in my 20s. But it was one of those, like, I'm nervous because I've never really, sliced a deer's throat or anything like that. And that's just, I don't know, that's just not natural to me. But my brother was all for it. Like I said, I'll help you. I'll, put my foot down on its neck, on its neck closer to its body. And then you can just cut its throat and, put it out of its misery. Well, I'm doing that. I'm being pretty brave here. And my brother reaches down. He has I think it was like a Leatherman knife.
Oh, goodness.
Like it was a
dull.
No, it was super sharp.
Oh, thank goodness.
But oh my gosh,
Must have been new.
He dug it deep and cut, like he almost cut that poor deer's head off. But as soon as he did, that deer raised up in between my legs. And it scared. I'm like, what do I do? Do I just go down?
I don't know if this is funny or not.
It's almost like
it's a comedy of errors.
sounds like steer wrestling almost.
Yeah, it's like, what do I do? Do I just sit on it and kind of lay on it and let it stroke it and it's gonna be over here in a second?
Pretty deer.
I'm like, no, it's up in between my legs. It's gonna I've seen videos of how the hoofs of a deer can cut you and do all kinds of stuff.
You're
and
in the safest spot you could be right there.
It's in between my legs.
Upside down? Or?
Not upside down, but who knows what it's gonna do. Just had its throat cut. So he says that's the most rememberable thing. I'm like, yeah, it was very traumatic for me.
What'd you learn from that hunt?
I learned not to hunt with my brother.
Or find a good rest to put your rifle on.
Yeah. But it's like,
That's crazy.
I don't want to ruin any meat. I'm like, you don't have a bullet hole in anything.
Yeah,
that
you're
is
good. You're safe.
Yeah. But yeah. So I mean, we have a bunch of stories, not quite as bad as that, but we have some that, my dad, we've had a deer with a collar come through our place, and
Really, like a pet?
no, I don't know if it was a pet. It was like a bright orange, it
Might have been like a state collar,
Yeah.
a biological collar.
Yeah,
Biologist.
Thank you.
Biological.
Hey,
Hey,
man,
it's like
I got it. I was close. All right, the root word was right.
yeah. I mean, so we've seen a bunch of things at our place, and it's just so cool to go and do that. My dad probably has a lot more stories that he could tell just from growing up out there in and of itself. We have one of those tanks out there that you could throw in an empty hook and something's going to bite it.
Oh, nice.
So that's why I like going fishing there.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah,
Makes it nice and easy.
Yep.
All right, so let me ask this question: if you can go on any hunting trip or fishing trip, what and where would it be?
Man, I got two. I want to go on an elk hunt
Oh, me too. So bad.
real bad. I want to go on a mountain elk hunt, but I'm a rifle hunter primarily, and I just because I'm really proficient at it, not for any other really, not for any ethical reasons, because I feel like hunting with a bow is just as ethical as anything else. And, that's been proven time and time again, but I'm just very proficient with a rifle. But I want to go elk hunting with a bow in the rut, listening to those bull elk scream.
Bugles.
Just
Yeah.
going
And
crazy. Yeah.
Like that right there is. And 50 years ago, I wish I was alive 50 years ago. I would have liked to have gone on an elephant hunt.
Yeah.
But now
That would have been
now it's like
You don't want to be that person.
one, it's tremendously expensive, and it's like, and there's not a whole lot of elephants left. I
No.
don't- But yeah, an elephant hunt would have been cool. But elk hunt's what I really want to go on. That's my dream.
Yeah. I would love to too. For me, I would say I would love to go moose hunting.
That would be cool.
I mean, just a massive animal. But I would love to do it with a bow. And I'm like you, I'm pretty proficient with a rifle. But just to have the element of knowing that I got to train, I really got to put in some time and dedication.
Yeah.
You got to, and it's not just, and even elk hunting, and I know you know this too. We've read some of the same books of people who have done some of those things. It is a very cardiovascular.
Oh, big time! Just going up and down those mountains.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got to be
Tracking
in
and-
shape to be able to do that. So just training physically to be able to go, but then being able to stalk with a bow, getting close enough.
Yeah, getting them inside of 20, 30 yards, which is
Yeah.
where I would really probably feel comfortable shooting.
Oh,
one.
absolutely. Yeah, especially with
It's
bow.
like-
yeah.
I can't imagine how intense that is to have a bull in heat, like bugling at you,
Oh yeah,
wanting to come fight or come breed, and just like right there screaming.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the adrenaline of that, I feel like would just be.
yeah. So
Out of this
I'm
world.
pretty sure I would miss with my bow, but man, just to be that close. The other one is, I would love to go bear hunting with a bow too.
Black bear or brown bear or grizzly? Like
But,
brown and grizzly, technically the same thing. But
Yeah,
I would
they
go
cut-
black,
black
bear.
or brown? Black bear.
Black, mainly because I've been around a black bear. If it's brown, if it's black, play dead. If it's brown, fight back. Or is it the other way around?
I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, I think if it's black, you fight back. If
Yeah,
it's
that's what it
brown, you
is.
play dead.
Yeah.
Lay down. If it's brown, you
Yeah.
lay down.
Yeah, but I've been, like, we went to Tennessee this last summer, and we unintentionally got really close to a black bear and followed it.
I remember seeing the pictures of that on that trail that
Yeah.
you were on. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would love to go bow hunting for one. And I know that sounds really ridiculous and stupid. I wouldn't do it without like a pistol or something
Right.
with me. But again, it's just the adrenaline and
The adrenaline of having one as close as it is.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be pretty spectacular. I've never really wanted to go on a bear hunt just because I don't really want to eat a bear for some reason.
Yeah, I've never
But
had.
everybody who's had bear says it's, or black bear anyway, says it's one of the best meats.
yeah.
I mean, black bear fed the United States before the beef
yeah,
and buffalo
but
were
you would
killed.
think it would be real tough.
It's not though.
You
It's
know what I
supposed
mean?
to. It's supposed to be really. I need to try. If I try some, I'll probably want to go bear hunting after that.
Is it sweet like berries? Because-
Well, they say if you find one that's been eating like blueberries, they call
Yeah.
them like the fat on them's blue, and you can taste like a hint of blueberry in there. But
Huh.
I don't know if that's true. I've never physically had any, but I've heard that.
yeah.
I'll tell you,
That'd be interesting.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you the trip I want to do, and I know it's probably kind of cliche to the fishing stuff, but alligator hunting. You talk about adrenaline rush, pulling that thing out of the water.
I don't want anything to do with the dinosaurs, man.
Hey, I want to so bad.
I don't even like getting close to the water with dinosaurs.
You talking about
Dinosaurs.
getting an elk, within 30 or 40 yards from you. Talk about pulling a friggin' dinosaur up to the edge of your boat. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, that's
My heart's racing right now just talking
just
about
thinking
that.
about it.
I'm like,
it's
yeah. Put me on
Yeah.
Swamp People
Hey,
or something. I don't know.
Alligator's good to eat. Too.
Oh,
They
I
are
love
good.
it.
Oh,
I
man.
love alligator.
Yeah.
So
But to me, alligators aren't. I've never. I can't say this with 100% accuracy. They're more aggressive than I think like an elk or a moose would be. Like, granted that if they're in heat, then yeah, they're going to come at you. But
But the alligator would like to eat you.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. They do the death roll as soon as they
Yeah.
come up to the top of water.
So I'm like,
That's
and
me
you have
out.
to hit them just right in their head to
Oh
kill
yeah,
them.
in that quarter size
Yeah.
spot.
Like,
I mean,
dude,
yeah,
that's just
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah,
I'll watch from the shore.
I say let's do it.
you gotta talk like all Cajun. Oh yeah, you want this?
Shoot 'em.
That's
Shoot
how
'em.
I'll be talking if I see an alligator. I guarantee you. Oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah. But no, that's definitely alligator. I think.
Man, what's scary about that is like I think there was which I'm not real sure. You know, the Brazos River flows right by, right through town pretty much, and it's like there was an alligator spotted in the Brazos.
Yeah, that's what I
somewhere
heard.
south of here. I'm not real sure where, but
No more Brazos swimming for me.
yeah, it's like man.
That's
you
what
know,
I
it's
heard.
like-
Then you always hear about Eagle Mountain Lake too.
I've heard that. Yeah.
I've heard numerous sightings there, but I don't know how true that is.
I grew up in East Texas, and so Caddo Lake.
Oh yeah, that's
They-
such a cool lake too.
Yeah,
dude.
it is.
Isn't that the only
the
like
only
natural
natural
lake
lake
in
in Texas,
Texas?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. They used to like drive submarines up into Caddo Lake, and when
No
they were
joke.
when they were testing all that stuff. But it has a ton of alligators in it too, and that's one of the places that you can like. They're famous for going on. Let's go on canoe rides, and I mean, which is super pretty. They have all those cypress trees and all that stuff with the moss hanging down and all that. But there's some alligators in it.
Yeah, I went out there with my father-in-law bass fishing one time, and first time I'd ever been, and it is a super cool lake with the way that those trees grow out of the water and all the moss and stuff. And we were fishing for bass and having a pretty good trip. And I was watching some ducks like just swim through the trees, and I was like, oh man, what a cool sight, just a couple of ducks just enjoying their life, swimming through. And dude, alligator come up and just wha-bam, and got one of those ducks, and I was like, it's time to go.
That's
to
when
the
you
house,
should.
man.
That's when you should have got that treble hook out there. Just
No, bass fishing was over.
ripped it,
I was like,
you know?
let's move. Like we got a hungry alligator in there.
yeah. There's no more fish. Let's go. Let's go.
What keeps an alligator from just chomping on a fish that you're reeling in?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
You'd think
know.
that the movement would get them excited.
Yeah. All right. Well, we always enjoy having guests on our show, but one of the things that we have a tradition. I say tradition. We've only done it twice or three times.
Always. We always do.
Always do it.
Always.
We always ask, what is a win for you? What is a recent win that you've had in your life? Maybe it is on a playing field, or maybe it is out in the game field. But what is a win that you've had here recently?
Man, this is easy for me, and it doesn't have anything to do with games or the outdoors, but my youngest daughter accepted Jesus Christ as her Lord and Savior about a month ago, and is actually being baptized this Sunday, and that right there is
Awesome.
just the coolest thing.
Oh,
and she's,
absolutely. Hands down.
third child, last one to accept Jesus, of course, and just super, super excited for her and what God has in store for her, and yeah, I mean, there's no better win than that.
Oh no, no.
You know?
Oh yeah, man.
No.
Well, way to go! You set the bar really high.
Yeah,
It makes mine
what's
like-
your win?
It makes mine just a step on.
Yeah.
You know.
No,
Maybe I should have let y'all go first.
But you're the guest. We got to let you go first. So, for me, this was a Valentine's week. We were busy at the church on Valentine's Day, and so for me, I got to surprise my wife and take her out. I got to date my doe.
Nice.
So I took her out to a restaurant, surprised her with flowers and a card. If I gave her nothing but a card, she would be content. That's just the kind of wife that she is. But she also appreciates flowers and being
Oh yeah.
trees. So for me, that was a win. Anytime I get to see her enjoy life and just to see joy in her eyes, that's a win for me.
Yeah, whenever you see your wife light up because of something that you've done, like that's pretty spectacular.
Doesn't happen very
Doesn't
often.
happen very often. So it's like when it happens, it's special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
No, mine's the same. Like, this was our 20th Valentine's that we got to celebrate together, and so it's kind of special. And we talked about earlier in the week, like we're not doing nothing, because we got some trips coming up, and then so we just weren't going to kind of just waste money on flowers that die and all this kind of stuff. But I ended up getting her, I got her a dozen chocolate covered strawberries and having delivered at work, and she called and was like real thankful and real like, I thought we weren't doing anything. And so it kind of, like you said, it kind of makes you feel good, that you still did it. And so yeah, just, celebrating that 20th or just Valentine's with my wife is super special this time of year.
It's nothing compared to your youngest child receiving Christ as their personal
No.
Lord and Savior.
No.
That's pretty special.
But that, man,
Like I
that's,
said, mine's just a step on.
no, y'all, what
Thanks,
y'all are doing,
dude, I remember you.
that's special too.
Yeah, no, but I remember you telling me I was pumped up. I was jacked up when Knox told me that she prayed to receive Christ.
Yeah,
and,
it was
man,
special.
that's awesome, man. That pumps me up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What makes you think as a parent, like, oh, I'm doing something right. You
I'm
know?
not messing
Like,
them up
yeah,
after
it's
all,
like-
you know.
Yeah, haven't screwed up yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
3 for 3, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Yep.
take it.
You should have another one just to see if you can go
Now
4 for 4.
done. I'm not doing Kit's deal.
Yeah.
It's tougher than I am.
Yeah, I was 3 for 3. Then we added another one, so so now I'm 3 for 4.
All right. Well, that is our wins, and I appreciate Zane coming on and being one of our Call of the Wild and just talking about hunting experiences. And man, I appreciate it. So
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys. This was a lot of fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It really was.
So if you are watching and you have a crazy story, you can email us at trophybrospodcast@gmail.com. Send us a story. You can do the poll that we have following this, and we just want to hear from you. But
Or you can leave it on Facebook as well. So
Facebook as well. So until next time, we'll catch you later.
see y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to Trophy Bros.
You can reach us through email at trophybrospodcast@gmail.com.
Make sure to also check us out on Facebook.
And if you like our podcast, make sure to like, share, follow, and rate us.
We're the Trophy Bros, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.